All right. Welcome everyone to another Anime Secrets Declassified JoJo's podcast. I am Miguel Moreno here with the rest of the Joe Bros here to talk about the second half of the first season of Stone Ocean. Joining me today on this adventure is Rizwan.
Hello.
Riz, glad you were
Hi.
finally able to catch up on the rest of the episodes. Because, man, let me tell you, last recording, it was hard not to go into any kind of other spoilers for the
Yeah,
rest of the
definitely.
season.
And we're also joined by Anthony.
Who is I guess inmate 3651. I
Yeah.
guess yeah, I mean shit, we're already doing a freaking thing about, anime about prison, so yeah, it works.
Yeah.
And genuinely, the second half of Stone Ocean, I'm just gonna go out and say this: the second half of the first season, uh, lots of two-parters, but very well worth it. Just the way they kind of build those up, and the sand fights in this part were, I think we can all agree, definitely better than the first half, which isn't a knock on the first half. It's just like the stakes just kind of got raised exponentially that quickly.
Yeah, things went from calm to, oh wow, what's just happened?
No,
Episode
definitely.
9 through 12 again.
Yeah.
Just of how much stuff happened and how much I didn't catch the first time. Like honestly, I don't think I understood anything the first time it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how y'all feel about it, but like I was so confused the first time.
Ah, no, the stand abilities definitely got a little bit wackier, but like I got the general gist of it. I know,
Well,
like I
yeah.
rewatched a few of the episodes like afterwards to kind of take some mental notes about them because I knew we were eventually going to do this podcast recording just to kind of have a better grip and understanding. So yeah, no, these fights are definitely worth rewatching because uh the stance just got more and more complex.
Yeah. Yeah, I was super in love with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially the beginning, the first two part we get. It's
Mm-hmm.
just it's actually my favorite two-parter of this season in general. It's just that good.
Foo Fighters, and let's actually get started with it. It picked with episode 7, picking up a little bit after Hermes's episode. We get an update on Jolene uh, that our Hermes meets Emporio to give McQueen's disc, and they're using the memory disc to ta- try to get any kind of clue of where uh, White Snake, Pale Snake are hiding her dad's discs. Because as we learned, that's how a lot of the enemies here are going to be getting their stance is through these discs, through Whitesnake's ability. So no arrows, we go to CDs. Technology evolves, and it starts off a little bit lighter. Hey, well, the beginning of the episode, creepy as hell already. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, a
absolute
little bit.
thing, blob, just horror vibes from it. That you remember. You remember how JoJo originally started off as a bit of a horror manga as well, and you got that right off the bat with those two inmates just immediately getting got.
It was a definite callback to season 1, and I'm here for that. Like, it wasn't so. Part 1 with Jonathan wasn't exactly like gory, but it had that sense of like horror to it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely appreciate the callback to that in a really indirect way.
right? And like just that small little twist at the end, it's like it wasn't you who wasn't pulling hard enough, it was me, and the dude's arms are just gone.
Oh, dude, I was, yeah, poor dude
No.
will never recover from that.
Oh, oh man, it was brutal.
Yeah.
It was brutal. And they go over, they, hey, we got to try to find these inmates. Hermes and Jolene both kind of figure out they both got stands, uh, just through their mutual, pardon me, meeting of Emporio. And so now, they're using this opportunity of looking for the prisoners to potentially try to find the discs that White Snake hid away. And one of the things we kind of get right off the bat is a couple of the people from the opening. We kind of see them there, and you think they're going to play an important role.
And
And
they
then
might.
what's up?
And they might.
Until the girl with the green hair, Tro, just gets blown up after the guard gets taken out. Because
Yeah.
they get the bracelets. It's like, oh, when you stray away from the mission, or if you stay far away from me for more than 50 meters, this is just gonna go off. And I got a lot of Suicide Squad vibes from this. It's like, oh, I've seen this. This is gonna. And when I was watching the episode, I just jokingly said to myself, I'm like, huh, I bet it'll be like Suicide Squad. They just blow up. And when it happened, I'm like, huh, I'll be damned.
They do blow up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This I get Suicide vibes from it now, like Suicide Squad vibes now.
mm-hmm.
More so the first 20 minutes or so of the second movie that
Mhm,
he made me watch it that one time.
mhm. Ooh.
Yeah, I definitely get the vibes from that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think I watched much after, but I remember the
Mhm.
first 10, 15 minutes or something.
Yeah, just, blew her up, and, you know, if you had watched the opening and they had featured her fairly prominent, and if you didn't read the manga, at this point, you were probably super confused as hell.
Yeah, you're like, wait, she blew up. How is she still in the show? Like, what?
Yeah.
And Riz, I know you haven't read the manga, so I kinda wanna get your feelings on it. What did you, think when, she just got blown up right then and there pretty unceremoniously?
I mean, I was just like, all right, I guess she's gonna die and we'll nice knowing you. I didn't expect what comes next, that was not what I expected.
Right? No, it was wild, and I wasn't also expecting the stand to be inside the bucket and just
Oh
being
yeah.
so many of those things. I'm like, oh, what the heck? It's
I
like
mean,
the
is this the most we've seen a stand split into multiple little individual things?
I want to
Because I
say
think
since Shigechi's in part 4 with Harvest, but
good
I know
callback, good
who,
callback. I forgot about
but
that one. I was thinking about the bullets.
uh, Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there was only 6 of those guys. And even
Right.
with Shigechi's Harvest, they did some animation tricks too where there's a lot of them, but they really drew so many of them and the rest were kind of just blurred in. That gave the impression that there was a lot. So it's I want to say since Harvest that we didn't, and and I guess to an extent Metallica from part 5, but just the little amoeba things that this stand was just back to kind of the creep vibes, just kind of dragging on there. I thought it was just a liquid kind of stand, but uh, amoeba plankton, not what I was expecting. Uh,
No. And I still okay, so the stand user is Amoeba, right? I'm not crazy.
so And we can kind of reach into the next episode from here because again, two-parter, so
They
they
kind of get
connect
put
together.
together.
It's
And honestly, I forgot where the split was, so yeah.
we actually randomly got to it. So the next episode called FF or Foo Fighters, we learn that the stand user is a stand who controls a stand. A stand somehow got sentient life and has its own stand, is from my understanding of it. It it is wonky, it is wild, but I just kind of shrugged because before they even get to figuring out that there's a stand user on there, they're suspecting like, hey, one of you guys is the stand user, one of the three other girls there. And at first, they kind of play it for a fake out because you saw the three of them that were in the opening, so you think it's like the one that wasn't in the opening that was the stand user. It turns out it was everyone.
Yeah.
Like basically, Jolene basically took a book out of Okuyasu's book and just was like, I don't know who the stand user might be, so I'm just gonna knock you both out.
Yep.
Well,
Mhm.
attempt to knock both of them out.
Oh yeah. And the stand Foo Fighters, very, very interesting.
Very eclectic.
Very
Mhm.
aquatic, and it with JoJo's sometimes the easiest way to defeat a stand was just like it likes water, make it dry out.
Mhm.
And so like we'll get to the ending portion of the fight here, but I really, really did like this how they're both essentially fighting the same person, but just two different stands at once.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? What did you guys think of the fight overall?
The fight overall, so I will say it was very crafty on Zolian's part to pull him so far away from the water. Her
Mm-hmm.
from the water, sorry. Um it it felt like Jotaro all over again with the intellect and the strategy and the thinking ahead type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um and honestly the same was true for Giorno to an extent. Just really tactical kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I liked seeing how Jolene tackles a problem and how she reconciles and finds a solution that's just so off the wall. I mean, there's some stuff in later episodes where I'm just like, girl, how are you this far ahead of the enemy?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a good first demonstration of her true abilities as a stand user. I mean, I know we had fights before now, but this is the one that really kind of sealed the deal of like what she can do.
Mhm.
Anthony, what do you think?
Yes, yeah, Jolene is very, very crafty. I'm really loving the fact that she used her stand so very versatile. And like I said, she just got the stand like literally like, maybe not even of like a whole week, maybe she had for like maybe a few days, maybe weeks so far. So to be able to do that amount in just a short amount of time is really like just profound because most majority of the other stand users that main leads of JoJo's besides Jotaro, of course, because Jotaro had just got his stand literally at the start of Star Wars Crusaders. So it's kind of like a good parallel because they both got their stands when they were young. So
Mm-hmm.
and also we got to give props to Hermes too because like she did her thing too.
Mm-hmm. No, I
Yeah,
like
no,
it.
definitely. She contributed in a good way. I think they really complement each other, and I'm glad we found her again. I was kind of wondering if we'd see her after the first couple episodes where she kind of vanished for a bit.
Mhm. I mean,
Yeah.
she had her own episode in 6, but, like,
Yeah,
with how much, some of these characters introduced have been, featured prominently in, like, for one episode and then have just slowly faded into the background, it was a pretty legit concern to have.
yeah. I mean,
But
it's always like concerning when you see like a really cool main character and then they lose screen time for so long with no warning.
Mhm.
Um, it's difficult to know what is the intent of the creators at that point.
No, but it like, after this set of episodes, like, you kinda realize
Oh no,
that
you know now
Hermes,
that's the real
it
deal.
yeah, she serves as the, main Josis of this part,
Yeah,
and genuinely, just the way, you would think, like, a stand that all it does is either duplicate something, or once you remove the sticker, it's just gonna send back to user. Like, you wouldn't think that'd be that effective, but the way she's been, putting in work these last few episodes, it's like, you know what? Maybe this isn't so lame at all. Maybe this is, a little bit slightly, underrated. Like, not all stands have to be, super punch happy. Just something as
yeah,
easy as that
It,
just can make work.
it's helpful to have, but it's not. It shouldn't just be that.
Mhm.
yeah. And I will say I'm very grateful that Gwes isn't one of the recurring characters we see every episode doing something critical.
Yeah, that's fair.
Gwes was not somebody I liked.
Oh, no one liked her.
She needs to just go off and meow to herself or whatever it was she was telling Jolene to do. Sorry,
No,
squeak, squeak.
Squeaker,
no.
squeak, squeak, and squeak, and squeak, squeak.
Oh, yeah, I know. And, no, and then for Foo Fighters, just, like, the origin, how it was made. Just but disc got thrown into the, sea and landed on some plankton, and he was born,
Yeah,
or it was born, just like that.
Yeah.
And so, it was only serving, Whitesnake just because it really didn't know anything better. But it was a lot smarter than it would let on. So you can tell it's been learning during its time guarding the discs. And one other piece of horror, body horror that this one had, it's how he made the body of one of the inmates by using the skin of the ones he killed in the prior episode. That was
That was very disturbing
that
and
was
gross.
that was
and,
disturbing, but was also creative, but more disturbing than creative.
and then you realize why that person had that two skin tones on them.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
And so after back to the episode at hand, after Jolene uses the strings to drive the tractor and the discs away, because Foo Fighters, like, even though it was smarter, or it was very sentient and much smarter, it still had its one mission: protect the discs. However, by running after them in a place away from water, just dried up super quick. And instead of killing it, Jolene shows it mercy.
yeah. And that surprised me. I didn't expect her to say mercy, but when she explained why, it made sense. Like I got it, you know.
Hmm. Because it wasn't protecting the discs out of, like, extreme loyalty to Whitesnake. It was just doing it because, like, at that point, that's all it really knew. Like, it was
It was
just
its purpose. It was fulfilling its purpose.
mhm. And then, not just fulfilling its purpose, but it was essentially doing it for their own sakes because they thought if the discs are gone, it dies.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And
It was
so,
not like a necessity, out of necessity for its own life.
mhm,
yeah. I was just trying to ensure it lived. It didn't care about anything beyond that.
mhm. I didn't care for Whitesnake or uh anyone else. It's like, this is so I could potentially live and not die.
Yeah.
but Jolene kind of showed him mercy because it's like at any really given point, instead of going after the discs, you could have killed us and then gotten the discs. But clearly, those things are your priority more than anything. So you're not working for our enemy.
Yeah.
And, at the end, it ends up possessing. It puts back together the body of the green haired girl, a Tro. And it's like, well, now we know. Now we know
And
why
that,
she appears in the
Tro.
intro.
A
yeah.
troll. Now no.
And it says, I'm gonna use this as my casing for a little while there. What did it say? Like, not casing, but like
Uh,
my, it'll be my puppet, I think is what they said.
It'll be my disguise because it could kind of keep the liquid inside the body. But it's like, I put it together as best I could, but there's some things I need to change. Like this
There's so
hand.
much something required.
Yeah, this hand's not going to be working. And we find not Jotaro's memory disk, but his stand disk only.
Star Platinum.
We find Star Platinum, and you start to wonder, why take Jotaro's memory disk but not his stand disk? Why not take the stand disk of the stand that went above the world?
Why not take the stand that actually defeated Dio? Like, very clearly, there's some Dio connection with the villains that we're going to explore later, but,
And
they're truly in servitude to Dio in some weird way.
mhm.
You'd want to have the power that destroyed your master.
No, definitely.
So, it's
And
confusing, and I mean, we do get an answer in this season, so I'm happy with that.
yes, no, I am happy they show why. But we finally see the user of Whitesnake. Enter Enrico Pucci, the head priest of the prison. Now, Riz, Anthony, are you guys expecting a priest to be the villain of the season?
No, never something that crossed my mind.
If I had to go back, because like I said, I'm already like ahead of this story already. I honestly did not see that coming. I was like, really? Taking it to church. I see.
Mm. And
but
one thing I got to compliment, Pucci's design is effing top tier. Oh my goodness, that is just that I his design is
it's
freaking
heavenly.
great.
It's
Hmm.
heavenly.
No, it is pretty awesome. Like, man, and I've seen manga panels of him before. The anime just knocked it out of the park with this design. Like, they really did bring it. They really did do the panels justice. Ooh, man, it's just awesome.
So, did anyone else get Polnareff vibes initially?
No,
From
Okay,
who exactly?
from
from
Pucci.
Enrico.
Not really.
I mean, not in how he looks, but like the cherry thing.
Oh
You
yeah,
mean
yeah.
Kakui?
Oh, wait, you mean Kakyoin?
Wasn't that Polnareff?
Kakyoin was the one that did the thing with the cherries. Like, la, 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 la. He did that. He
Yes.
said,
Okay, I got names mixed up.
that's one.
Yeah, don't you all get Kakyoin vibes from that?
No, I just got typical villain is weird vibes from him.
Okay.
I just assumed that he just was very good at look at you know twisting cherries with his tongue. So if you
Mm.
ladies out there are looking for a very psychotic priest that is worship vampires, you can always go after this guy.
Well, the thing is,
He's
like,
single, ladies.
Well, the thing about
Mm,
Bucci is he's still not really worshiping Dio. He's a follower of him, and he thinks Dio's plan, which we will get to that here shortly. Like I don't want to jump too far ahead
right.
because that is the thing we can all definitely discuss when we get to it because uh there's going to be a lot to unpack on that final episode. Uh so when we get to that here after we get through the next few things cuz there's still a lot to unpack here. Like these were just the first two episodes like of the second half where we met the new person, we finally got the reveal of the main villain.
I feel like
And
more happened in these six than the first six.
yes. Mainly because the first six were also setting up uh, the personalities and the
Yeah,
characters of this season. And
yeah,
then these
definitely.
next six just start getting the plot going. Because the one thing I'll give Stone Ocean this, which is something that we haven't seen in any of the series since I want to say Phantom Blood, is like the episodes or the story is getting rolling like right off the bat. Like in Battle Tendency, we had Strizo and then we had Santana before we got to the Pillarmen. Uh, Stardust Crusaders, it's like we got to go to Egypt to defeat Dio, but so like that story really didn't pick up in intensity or in kind of stakes feeling until we got to Egypt. Like I feel like that's when the story actually started kicking off into high gear. Because for the most part, it's just like villain of the week, villain of the week, villain of the week. Which when Araki was still developing the purpose of stance, like made sense because he was still trying to figure them out, how he's gonna do it, how he can really test them. And then Diamond is Unbreakable, like we saw like the hand for Kira like in the first episode, but we don't really get the main motivation until maybe part way through. We have we have a side villain in Chili Peppers, but nothing that really kind of gets the ball going. And then Golden Win, we don't deal with Diavolo until part way through the series as well. So what I give Stone Ocean this is like we got our main villain and we're gonna get their motivations like super early, so we kind of get an idea of where the story's going, and that's why these 6 episodes of the second half just like felt like there was so much to them, and that's because like they are setting up the story, what they're going to be fighting, or what the goal of the villain is like super early on.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That was something that I also appreciated because we're not just spending time building a story to have a story. We have the story, we have an idea why. Now it's going to be a matter of what happens from here. How do we take down the big bad, or how does the big bad take us down?
Hmm.
So we're not focusing on building a story. We're focused more on executing it now. I think, if that makes sense.
Yes, we have the setup, but now it's like, okay, so how is it going to build towards the resolution?
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it's going to be taking too many detours as of now.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this turns into be like a 24 episode deal or something, just given the pacing we have right now.
Oh man, Riz.
Unless there's a lot more to come in the manga that I'm not aware of.
They don't stay in the prison for the entirety of it.
Really?
Hmm.
Okay, I thought the entirety of this thing was set in a prison.
It's
No,
mainly set in the prison, but it doesn't all
Oh,
take place there. Slight spoilers
well,
for people,
that's
but
good. Well, I mean, that's
it's
not
not all
really a
gonna
spoiler per se, but just more of a informational, like, hey, this happens in later parts, just so you know what's
right.
going on.
Like it's not all gonna be taking place in the prison,
Right.
but uh uh, after seeing that the discs are gone, Poochie is like, Jotaro's daughter is gonna be a bit of an issue. She could potentially be a thorn in my side. And so, like, he's not really upset that the discs are gone because those are all just like, I don't really need them. I have more. But this was a thing where he's like, I gotta take care of this problem. Which leads us to one of my favorite episodes of the season, the Marilyn Manson episode.
Know
And
what you mean? Mary Lynn
Yeah,
Manson.
Mary
I'm about to
Lynn
say.
Manson. I'm sorry. The Mary Lynn Manson episode. And the way it started off, one just shows you how attentive Poochie is. And two, yeah, you got some schizos in the prison. Because we meet Mirshan, who's trying to get parole. And she's begging the father, please, you're a man of God. Can you get me parole? And while he's thinking about it, slammed, like, I forgot if he kneed her or slammed her head into the table, but essentially he knocked her out because she had stolen one of his golden crosses and put some discs into her, baby, and tells her,
That means she is a stand user.
mm-hmm, and tells
Hmm.
her, get Star Platinum's disc back. And, it sets up the villain for the episode. Also, it sets up a little bit more Foo Fighters as they're learning to get used to their human body and do not touch their water cup.
Yeah, I'm about to say the water cup is like their life. It's fun watching them learn human etiquette, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can see the attitude is like, why are you doing this? Be normal.
Foo Fighters is like, no touchy, no touchy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't touch. No.
Well, I mean, it does have a single celled mind, so
Makes
Right.
sense.
one track mind.
Well, that and it need like
It needs water.
it needs water.
That's
It
it,
needs water to live. And
Yeah.
so they're learning to play catch. And all of a sudden, who shows up but Mirshan? And we get a little gambling action going. And it's like, I bet you can't catch the ball 100 times in a row. And they're like, we're at 77. We can go ahead and do this. And man, those are some intense games of catch.
Yeah.
They succeed the first time and then challenges them again, but do it another 100 times, but ups the ante to 1,000. Now that Jolie, she would be an excellent gambler because she knows when to quit. She's like, nope, I already won my 100. Get me out of here. But Hermes just unfortunately just falls for the trick. Falls for
Yep.
the trap, accepts the bet and takes the plays. And
Got money on her mind. Sorry, I had to.
I mean, listen, $1,000 just to catch a ball 100 times, split up between
Hell
two
yeah.
people. That's only 50 times. But Mirshan, she was a tricky one because recess was up for the prisoners, and they had to start confiscating everything away. And I think this episode kind of just played up to just like not all stand users are gonna be like uber broken. A lot of them are gonna be crafty users. And
Hmm.
this Marriage chick just was like trying to find every bending, every rule cheat, every bend she could find to win this bet. And what happens? But Hermes is tries to cheat using her stand, and then we see Marilyn Manson show up, and oh man,
Marilyn Manson's not happy.
Nope.
Who would have thought a liver was worth $1,000?
I mean, depends on the black market you talk to, I guess.
That's true. They do sell for a high price. That why else do you see always see like a whole bunch of like shows and movies where they have the scenes where people are like, wait, did you just take out my like one of my kidneys or my like they'll have a scene of somebody they'll wake up in a tub of ice and like their body organs have been harvested and all that. It makes sense. They'll be like, oh, I took your organs for like the black market. Go should go for a high penny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but only 1,000 for a liver? Oh man, Hermes is getting gypped. Well, it wasn't even worth 1,000. She only had like a couple hundred on her. The liver was worth less than that.
Yeah.
So Jolene,
I'm guessing it just so if you don't have all the funds, it's gonna take something that could be worth what the stand thinks it's worth, I guess, if that makes sense.
yeah, it analyzes you and finds the thing that's worth the most to you, or that's most important for you or to you, to make up for the lack of funds to cover the losing wager.
So
Which
I picked a liver?
they picked the liver.
I mean, I guess you need those, right?
You do need your liver.
Mhm.
Can't really process too much stuff without it.
Yeah.
And so Jolene steps in, that ups the ante. The ante gets upped. Uh, so basically, 1,000 times catching the ball between them for Marilyn Manson to return everything that was taken. And we get some fuckery going around and some wacky shenanigans of catch.
Mhm.
And just playing through and then playing in the dark. It's like, what the heck? Who, who thinks of this? Who thinks of this as a stand fight? It's just like they're just playing catch, but it's like, all right, make them play catch in the dark, make them on separate levels. Have these people constantly interrupting them. It's like, you think a simple game of catch really can't be that intense, but like, they just keep throwing all those obstacles in there. Like, it gets you in the moment. It's like, oh shit, catch this ball. But yeah, no.
Yeah, so in this case, I mean, the stand isn't all about punchy punchy. It's about strategic technique you're gonna
Mhm.
use to give people hell. And I mean, look, that's some hell they went through. It's not easy to do what they did.
No,
And I mean,
it
at least I
wasn't.
don't think so.
Right, and it wasn't so much the stand itself, it was the user. All the
Yeah.
stand is a debt collector.
Yeah, the stand is pretty much invincible too. Like you cannot damage this stand at all. Like you can punch it, kick it all you want to. It's gonna phase through all of your attacks. So you have to
Because
disable the user in order to get rid of the stand.
Mhm.
because the stand doesn't care about anything except collecting the debt. And if it's not collecting the debt, it can't take damage, I don't think.
It doesn't
No,
manifest until
no.
the debt needs to be collected.
It can't take damage regardless of.
Like, it's a very specific stand, but it's very powerful. And we get to one of my favorite moments where they're in the elevator, guard comes in, confiscates the ball, and you think, shit, they lost. Until Jolene just pulls out a trump card out of nowhere. Because the way the stand also works is very similar to the Darby brothers stance from part three, where if you think you lost, or if you feel it that you've lost or you cheated, the stand comes in and you basically like you lose your soul. You get turned into the doll, whatever it. But once the stand sees that, you yourself admit defeat, like it comes in. It's how it got Hermes. But with Jolene, she didn't give a fuck how she won. And sorry for my language, but she didn't give an F for that. And she even tells her, it's like, you know, we never agreed on who my partner was going to be. We just agreed that me and somebody, or that I with someone, will be able to throw the ball and catch it 1,000 times. And so she looks over to Marishan and she's like, and honestly, I lost track of how many times we had already done this. So what was it, 800, 900? Let's just go for 1,000 here and just pummels the living daylights out of her with a baseball 1,000 times. And that was just, oh, that was just beautiful.
I will say the fact that Stone Ocean includes the Oro from before seasons
Mhm.
really adds something here. It's like a mix of nostalgia and also just more fuel to make me laugh because I love when they do that.
Just do the one to the multiple page beatdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. It's just like Jolene's theme playing. Yeah, I didn't specify. Also, the way she like got the baseball back by turning that into string.
Okay, that was creative. That was super creative. I gotta give props is due here, and that was some creative stuff.
Yeah, I think I found myself saying that a lot during these next couple fights. Like, yeah, that was really unique. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Right?
No, absolutely, uh, great stuff there, and just just the pummel beat down there, and then the discs just eject, and she is retired. Oh, and I'm so glad that came back. Stand user retired, must retire, unable to continue on. Amazing.
Yeah.
And not just that, but she retrieves the two discs, and she made some money along the way, which, you know, she can finally start getting some more access to other things in the prison, including call time, which brings us to the Savage Garden episodes. Another
Ooh, fun
two-parter.
stuff.
And, you know, we get to see an interaction between a Joestar member and the Speedwagon Foundation, which we don't get too much of that since season 2. They've kind of been in the background because they're just as the phone representative told Jolene, it's like, well, first of all, when she called, the clerk lady's like, yeah, why are you calling us from this number? And the way they still have a connection to the Joestar line, like even after all these years, is something that
I mean, okay, so think about that for a second. It's only been probably, I would say 70 years.
yeah, 7 decades to still have a connection with someone long
Well,
after it's been it's been 60 years since Speedwagon died.
yeah. But I mean, I imagine the people, like whatever heir to the throne that came after Ario, they didn't die an early death. I'm assuming they lived a very long life, so yeah, they dedicate their lives to it.
You got to remember,
But you remember, he
Speedwagon
doesn't have
died
he.
a lifelong bachelor.
Yeah, he never had kids.
Yeah,
You're right.
So I think what he did was that I think he made the Joe Stars the benefactors of the Speedwagon Foundation.
not even
Hence why,
benefactors. Most of
yeah,
Joseph's money came from his real estate stuff. Like they have like the Speedwagon Foundation is still helping them because, well, one, they still have a pillarman underneath Washington D.C. or wherever their headquarters are at. But it's like there's a there's like basically an Illuminati section that's designed for this, but the fact that that's been kept around for like that long, because it's been 30 plus years since Stardust Crusaders took place, or almost 30 years since Stardust Crusaders.
Yeah.
And the fact that Jolene's like, can you get me to someone, or I'm Jolene Cujo, can you get me to someone who would know about this, or who would know about why this is important, why my name is important. And also the fact that Jotaro like had that wherewithal to say, hey, this is the name of my daughter. Should she get involved in any of this stuff, like that's the name you need to be on the lookout for. And the fact that they were, the guy was there, and we get an update on Jotaro's condition, and he's in the same kind of capsule that Goku was in before he fought Frieza in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. Well
Uh,
played, Meg. I never thought about that.
well, I mean, I just saw
I see
that
the
the
reference.
capsule, the liquid, the blue liquid, the bubbles going in there. Uh, but the memory discs can bring people back, as they kind of saw with McQueen. Like after he got electrocuted and all that death stuff, when they put the discs back in him, he was back to normal. So we know
Now
that.
that begs the question: what if
Yeah.
they implanted Star Platinum's disc into, say, Jolene or something?
It rejected her. We did already see that. It's like a
Yep, that already happened
small,
already.
I believe it was
Fair,
in the last episode where she tried putting it in, and Star Platinum just ordered her and the disc popped right out.
fair.
But
Also,
the
So
stand
is
has
but
there like a
the
is it a
stand
but
has
link?
I
there
don't know if
could
it's
be a
a
chance that another character could take Star Platinum. However, if the stand is too strong for them to handle, it will still reject them even if they don't have a stand.
right. And that's
Hmm.
the thing. With the stands, like the stands have to accept you essentially. Like you have to be compatible uh with them. It's why Merishawn was able to be compatible with a stand like Marilyn Manson. It wasn't so much that she was strong enough, but she was more of a crafty one. And the stand that she had didn't really need a lot of kind of like strength. It just needed essentially like a good mind to work with. Star
Yeah.
Platinum, on the other hand, is a stand that surpassed the world. So you need to be ridiculously strong for that stand to even accept you. Like I don't know if it's like a strong will, strong body, strong something. It just
Could
rejected
be all the
Jolene.
above, to be honest.
Yeah, it could be a mixture of everything. But we know that Star Platinum just straight up rejected somebody already. And so they know they have to get the memory disk back. Uh but if they have one of them, they theorize that it could potentially stop Jotaro's body from dying, because that's the other thing. He's not dead, but he's slowly dying.
Right.
And
I will
so,
say the way that they weaponize stands in this season to be like this thing that you can take away, it's very fascinating to think about.
mhm, it is. And it's, like I said in the last episode, like going into this, I was like wondering, I'm like, well, how are they going to be getting stand users? Like,
Yeah.
because I'm like, there's no way they're going to be like uh hot potatoing that locket that Jolene has for like that long. Like at one point, you just like leave that thing in your jail cell and that's it.
Right.
And so the way you see from Poochie, he's just been gathering like a bunch of stand users. We don't know if it's just been from people in the prison, or you know he's been traveling a lot. Maybe like they'll probably get answered later on as we go on through the season. But like that initial thing, it's like he has reserves of a lot of stands. So he's
Mm-hmm.
been clearly planning for something like this for a while. And so just like he's being very crafty about who he gives the stands to as well. But as Jolene's talking to the representative, he's like, "Listen, we're a science and research team. Like we don't have any kind of military. We don't have any kind of weapons. But
Right.
if you can meet us out in the courtyard with that disc here in 20 minutes, we have one shot of doing something for you, but you have to make sure that you're out there after this." And he also warns her, it's like, we're probably getting recorded, right? Like they are more than likely going to monitor this call. Whoever had this plan to get Jotaro in there, they're probably going to be recording this. But Jolene's like, listen, we got one shot to save my dad. We got to, like, I need to put the options out there right now. I don't care if they're listening in. We got
Yeah.
to get this done. And so she's got to go out to the courtyard. But before she goes there, she meets up with Emporio again. And we kind of start learning how he gets around, which he hides in the ghost room. That's just immune from time and space, evidently, or just immune to the loss of physics, because that was weird, the ghost room. But we meet, uh, probably, I I don't know if he'll end up being my favorite, but he's the front runner right now. We meet Weather Report, someone without memories. And much like Pucci, goddamn, I love this guy's design. His
It's a
first.
good character. I wouldn't say they're my favorite in this one,
Mm-hmm.
but they have a really good character and skill set. I will say that.
Yeah, their stand is something else. Also, I like his hat.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he has no memories, but he wants to help her. And so he demonstrates the power. He can control weather. We
Yeah.
got Storm. And he uses this to spot an inmate named Lang Wrangler who's been following them. And we jump into our next fight with Jumpin' Jack Flash, which I'm like, all right, I love that Rolling Stones reference. That is pretty awesome. But another unique power, gravity control.
it's it's a really extreme gravity control as well. It's not like your run of the mill that you typically think of when you think gravity control.
Right? Like most of the time, whenever it's like gravity control, they just like, oh, now you're heavier. You can't move. It's like just push
Right.
down. And it's
Yeah.
not too often you get the one that's like, yeah, now you're floating.
Yeah.
And it's not just her, but like anything Jolene touches, just becomes weightless. And he steals the stand disc, and then you know he starts retreating, and Jolene calls out for weather report, and we hear like we complimented Jolene's theme in the last episode. Weather report's theme is also pretty freaking top tier.
Oh yeah.
Just like that, the slow build up, and then just like starts going. It's like really, it's got a nice funky beat. It's like, oh man, it's just like you can vibe to that theme.
But okay, name a theme or name a JoJo song you don't like. You
That's
can't,
fair.
can you?
That's fair.
I,
I mean,
I can might have, but out of all the parts,
what?
I can't say I hate any. I can't say I hate any of them. Cause I even like freaking Jonathan's theme from part one.
Uh,
What's wrong with
Jonathan,
Jonathan's theme?
Nothing. I'm saying there's nothing wrong with it. I thought I was gonna like it, but I do like it.
Okay,
and
okay.
I
Yeah, it's more or less I can't find any song right
I
there I don't like.
there's one, but that's just because like they didn't really play it too many times, and I think he had like multiple themes played out whenever he was fighting, and I'd say it'd be Joseph, and he's like my favorite JoJo, but I think he has probably has the weakest theme out of all of them.
Yeah.
But you
That's
know,
fair.
for the yeah, before we get too sidetracked, there's a YouTuber out there named Samuel Kim, and he's been just releasing so many of these like remix themes from Part Six. Like, you guys should give him a listen to. Ooh man, those are good, and he like immediately did Weather Report's theme, like not even a day after Part Six was released. And oh man, I think my favorite comment about Weather Report: this guy will make you chill while watching Netflix.
uh,
ah,
where do you get that from?
YouTube comments.
That was
But
well played.
it was very well
I
played.
can't. I can't be mad. I just can't.
But no, just like his theme just like kicks in when he's chasing after Jumping Jack Flash, and gravity becomes zero. How does he make himself unaffected? He counters with atmospheric pressure.
Yep.
Like, you think, oh, weather control, he can shoot lightning, he'll make it rain, he'll cause storm winds. Nope. Straight up, we go into more technical. It's like I'm going to use this to essentially create a mini atmospheric pressure to make myself not be hit, not be hit by the junk you're shooting at me with your gauntlets. Which another thing, this guy's stand, I don't know what it looks like, or if it's a suit stand similar to Seko and Giaco from Part Five. But just like the gauntlet machine guns he shoots out like freaking Terriermon from Digimon 3,
Yeah.
it's just like all right, this is this is bonkers. I'll take it. I'm watching JoJo's. I should be expecting this, but it's like every new enemy just like hits me with something just as interesting, and uh machine gun gauntlets that shoot screws and nuts and other junk not on there. But you know, it's not enough, as he also touches Jolene, and they chase Wrangler into the main factory area because that's where the fight kind of leads to. So, what do you think? What do you guys think about the first part of this fight?
Good. Good. I heard your mic go off, but
Oh no, I actually thought this fight was actually pretty interesting because like most of the entire fight, it was really just like these like Jolene and Weather Report were on the freaking ropes this whole time. Like, you weren't even sure if they were gonna get out of this alive, and then with Jolene's quick thinking, she turned the tables and ends up stopping him, which was fun. Of course, that's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Weather Report, man. If I'm pretty sure if he wasn't there with her, she would have died.
oh
100%.
yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
And like at first, I wasn't certain when I first saw him brought out. Like, could we trust him? Because quite frankly, I didn't trust the kid at the time.
Right. Because we don't know who these people are. They're just, you know.
Right. So like, probably they could be part of the whatever plot's going on against him.
Mm-hmm.
So on one hand, I'm sitting there like, Weatherman's awesome. On the other hand, I'm like, so when's the betrayal happening, guys?
Mm-hmm.
And color is surprised. He never betrayed him.
Nope.
Nope.
No, he did not. He was, you know, he, and it's one of those things. It's like he's in, he has amnesia, and so judging from kind of, well, we'll kind of see later on, but right here you can start putting like some things together. Like, why doesn't he have his memories? Well, you can start to kind of theorize. It's like, well, we know that Poochie takes two discs, your memory disc and your stand disc. So you can kind of put this in like, what if Poochie just stole this guy's memory disc and just left him with a stand disc potentially? And this kind of gets answered in this second part of, or here in a few episodes, but like because they're all really tied together. So before I jump too far ahead with weather report and kind of where where we think his character's gonna go, we got to get down to this fight where at first we think, all right, gravity control, they're just absolutely loose, nothing going on. Well, they start hitting you with some science stuff here, and Riz, I know you're the big NASA guy here. Uh, what did you think about all this space talk and how being stuck in a zero gravity vacuum and any small cut just starts getting your blood sucked out?
Okay, so I don't know how true any of that is. I don't know if I believe the hot temperature of the blood being a thing when there's zero vacuum. I just it might be true, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I'm not a biologist, so yeah. I was like, okay, I'll go with this idea of that's how science works in this world,
Mm-hmm.
and it's potentially how it works in my world, but I'm not gonna say this is how it works in my world because, quite frankly, it sounds insane.
Yeah. I mean, this whole fight here was just insane.
I mean,
But
insta swelling up and bursting, that seems extreme for what was actually happening.
well, for me, it's just like it just shows like how much more expansive the stance are with, you think, oh, gravity control, he'll either make it heavier or lighter. And then he's like, no, we're gonna make this a zero gravity vacuum like dome here.
Mhm.
Like, what? Like at first you think, oh, she's just weightless. They have to find a way to fight fight this guy, but they're essentially on the moon. No, like this guy just made it way worse because it's not just like anything she touches; it's just like an entire vacuum now.
Yeah.
And then what with weather report on the opposite spectrum, it's like okay, you can create as atmospheric pressure, and now he's creating spacesuits with clouds out of the remaining air that was in the area. What?
Things have clearly happened.
It clearly happened. I enjoyed it. I'm just like, oh, well, that's a nice cloud spacesuit.
Yeah.
And so you
And see,
start.
that's another thing with the science that I don't know if I believe or would support.
I don't believe that, but it looked cool
Yeah.
and it
It
was
looks cool.
entertaining, and I was
Oh,
satisfied with
a
that.
absolutely, yeah, it was definitely very entertaining,
Hmm.
but, my mind's like, how do you take clouds to make a spacesuit to prevent other things from hitting you, and to also give you air?
Well, the thing was like the suits didn't prevent them from getting hit because that was one of the dangers they're experiencing. Like they couldn't take too many hits. Because yeah, the cloud suits is one was going to prevent like whatever injuries they had already sustained from Wrangler for a little bit, but weather report even said like this is just like limited. Like we're still losing blood. This is going to stop it. But any kind of extra damage they take, like the cloud suit just like disappeared. Like, it
Mhm.
was still getting cut up, so it wasn't protecting them from damage. It was just stopping them from bleeding out completely.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they got to figure out this. Like, Jolene eventually figures out, hey, this guy has a limited range, and she's trying to find it. Wrangler, whatever. Wrangler. Jeez.
Mhm.
Lang Wrangler. Why couldn't he have just named him normally? Getting the
Why do
L
we have
and
all
the
these?
R. I'm getting the L and the R mixed up with this dude.
I know.
Wrangler eventually damages weather report suit because he, for lack of a better term, takes a bullet for Jolene.
Mhm.
And, weather report transfers whatever is left of his suit over to Jolene, and he's starting to get the stuff sucked out of him. Like, he is getting completely effed up by the zero vacuum.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
what? And once again, Jolene's threats just being clutch. Just being clutch. Like, I wonder what the range of those threads are. Because she reached Wrangler from where she was at and not only jammed up his guns, but also stopped the rest of the screws and everything from like piercing her inside the suit. Like, that was awesome.
Yeah, it
Definitely.
definitely was.
And so now that she finally got a hold of Wrangler, just draws him in. And, if you ever seen, that old Schwarzenegger movie, Total Recall, where the guy goes out from the protective space and into the atmosphere and just gets like boiled and blown up. We almost get a recreation of that, but then Wrangler creates oxygen in a bottle, and it's essentially going to use that as a grenade. And so Jolene gives him a warning not to do that, but Wrangler doesn't listen. He finally turns gravity off to normal, and instead of going away from Jolene, the the burst of air that came in just knocked him towards her aura range, and he got a beat down.
Oh yeah.
He should have deactivated sooner.
She
Mhm.
told them so,
But did
and
they listen, Anthony? No.
Ooh.
so Wrangler is put out of commission. She gets the card. She's not in the best shape, but she's not injured. But weather reports basically out for the rest of whatever fight is left. Because he just got completely effed up. Like, he took a beating. And
Yeah.
so she uses the card to request someone to open the gate, and she's greeted by our good friend the priest. And that's how this episode ended. So when Jolene and Poochie first met, what did you guys think was gonna happen?
I thought Jolene was gonna immediately start oraing him
Mm-hmm.
because she doesn't know who she can trust, so she has to treat everyone as like a combatant. But she didn't, and that gives me reason to think maybe maybe she's kind of religious and doesn't want to attack a priest.
Anthony?
Oh yeah. Honestly, could you imagine if she did attack him? Like, for one, she would have already known who he was at the start, and then thus, so many different things could have happened. But the fact that she kind of like was standoffish, I think it's because like she, I guess because she's like, oh, he's the priest. What's he doing here? She's kind of thrown off by the whole thing. I feel like if
Yeah,
it had been somebody else, she probably would have like attacked them immediately. But I guess it's her it's her one weakness where like she is that caring and thoughtful when it comes to like certain people.
Right, and it led to a pretty interesting dynamic because Pucci also kind of had to play this close to the chest, and we'll go ahead and move on to the last episode, which before we get into the details of it, uh, with the sound effects coming on for this one, it tells me we're gonna get another opening next season.
oh yeah.
Mhm.
Anytime there's any kind of special effects, new opening. So I'm hoping they don't change the ending though. Like I
The
hope they
ending
do
is
it.
pretty damn good.
Like I hope they
It,
do a Diamond is Unbreakable and keep the ending throughout the season. Because
Yeah,
yeah, that they nailed the ending the first time. But you know what? They might find something else, and I'm not gonna judge them because all the endings they picked so far, pretty banging. But I think this one's too perfect. But that's
agreed.
that's just me. But just had to get the the sound effects opening out there before we moved on. And moving on to Pucci, he also kind of had to play this close to the chest because he didn't know who was helping her out. He played it smart. They said, "Oh yeah, Jolie and Cujo made a phone call," and Pucci's like, and so this episode not only kind of takes place in the present, but we also get some flashbacks going on as well. But Pucci played the smart. He's like, okay, uh, I like to monitor all the calls just to make sure, if they're talking to their family. He's putting up the front like, pardon me. Oh, I hope they're talking to their families or,
Hmm.
how they found God or all that. But, he had the wherewithal. Jolie and Cujo made a call. Yeah, I gotta listen to this immediately. And that's the thing I like about Pucci. He is not letting this problem kind of fester in the background. He's taking immediate action against these guys. Like not just like, oh, she's giving me problems. I gotta find someone to eliminate her. And oh, she talked to Speedwagon Foundation and she's gonna be there. I gotta set something up so she doesn't reach the courtyard. But he was also playing the smart because he's like, I could send out White Snake together, but she had someone help her. I don't know who or what that or where that person is. So I can't really unleash Whitesnake right now because then I could get exposed. I can get knocked out. I can lose.
Yeah.
And it's what I really enjoyed it. And so Poochie, he's like, listen, I'm a man of God. I'll grant you 1 minute to go to the courtyard, but then you have to come back here. He lets her go. But that's because he set up a guard in the courtyard to shoot her immediately. This man, 3D chess moves right there.
So, what was your thoughts of seeing her getting shot in the courtyard?
Pucci's intelligent, and okay, how is she gonna get out of this? Because that was just intense. That was like, oh shoot, she got shot
Yeah.
I
because she thought that.
literally forgot this happened. I was like, wow, that I did not see that coming.
Yeah, she's been getting beat up a lot too.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. She's hurt quick.
Mm-hmm. And at first, we all think, oh, this is clearly the Speedwagon rep. Nope, just another prison guard. And Poochie is like, I played this smart. I didn't reveal my stand. Their partner thinks I just let her go, but the guard still showed up. He's gonna eliminate her. Gonna retrieve the disc. We call it a day. And
Yeah.
we got our flashback to 1988 when Poochie met Dio. And Dio told him he found a way to reach heaven without dying. And we find out why Poochie needed a JoJo's memory disk. He wrote a plan down. JoJo at some at some point after he killed Dio, burned the book down. And so Poochie, wanting to achieve Dio's plan to reach heaven, needs what Jotaro saw that day to be able to achieve his plan. And so, we get our big thing. We get some questions answered, like, what's Poochie's connection? We find out why. He was
Mhm.
a follower of Dio who wants to see his plan go through. Uh, why did he only take one of the discs? We know why. SanDisk is worthless to him. He just needed the memory disk.
He needs
And
information.
exactly.
Honestly, I
And
think he just took the stand disc because like that way Jotaro wouldn't be a nuisance to him once he got his memories. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and just take his stand too. That way he won't be oppose me or stop me physically."
mm-hmm. And so, you get a lot of those questions answered, and Weather Report still kind of, he's still in the background. He's hurt, and so he hears the gunshots, and he just tries to pull a Hail Mary to try to help Jolene out, and the I know it's going to be said a lot about this show, but in my bingo card for this show, raining poisonous dart frogs was not on my card,
That was
but
not expected.
I like how they put it up there. Between 1920 and 1980, Florida experienced a record number of rain of foreign and exotic animals just coming down and raining upon them.
That just sounds like Florida, man. That is Florida.
Yeah.
Right? You can't have anything in Florida. You're either going to get attacked by gators or it's going to rain poison dart frogs from the sky.
Yeah.
But, it just goes more to weather reports like vast power of, just how impressive controlling the weather is. He just made it rain frogs. Like, he somehow had the wherewithal to summon a storm that transferred poisonous frogs from a jungle somewhere nowhere near America to America in a matter of seconds. Bizarre.
Yeah. He might be broken.
He might be broken.
So what you're telling me is that he rocked him like a hurricane.
I set myself up for that. I can't even
Yeah.
be mad.
I regret nothing.
Of course you don't. Why would you? That was
I
good.
can't be mad. I can't be mad. But it rains frogs, and so before the security guard can attack Jolie, the frog just lands on him. And if you don't know anything about the poison dart frogs, those things, the poison of those things can knock out an elephant. And so this guard is just getting swelled up by this, and it is just ridiculous. And it's at this point where it starts raining frogs, and Poochie sees like one of them almost land on him, that he realizes, what the F weather report? Why? And so you see, oh, there is probably a connection between these two. And we know that Poochie's stand can take discs, especially memory discs. Oh, there's got to be a reason. Like, these two probably know each other from somewhere or something. And Poochie took this guy's memory disk, but he didn't kill him. Why? But the
But
fact that,
why leave the stand disc intact?
right, and that's the thing. It's like, why leave the stand disk intact? And just the fact that Poochie was able to recognize, her ally was weather report. Okay, something's up here. And so Poochie just couldn't really go anywhere. And so he brings out Whitesnake to basically start punching the frogs away from him so that they don't touch him. And then Jolene starts using her stand to basically create a cocoon around her so those frogs don't land on her. And so we just have like minutes of frogs raining down. And so at one probably one of the funniest scenes in here is when Poochie like is calling for a guard. Because Poochie, well, one, the security guard from the outside goes to give Poochie like his security card, and Poochie just kills the guy and says, "Yeah, you'll get to heaven." Uses his card to go back inside, and then there's another locked door, and so he calls out for another guard to rescue him or to open the door. The security guard says, "No, don't worry, Father. I'll go grab someone to help. I don't have clearance." And then he just offs that guy. Like, Preachy may be a man of God, but he is not afraid to off. Uh, he's not afraid to off someone for his plans.
Nope.
That's the Dio and him speaking.
Mm-hmm.
That influence is strong. Stronger than God.
Mm-hmm. And finally, the rain stops. Poochie's in a decent enough spot away from where the frogs are landing. And so he's using Whitesnake to find the stand disc because you think, oh, some of the poison probably got to Jolene. She's probably dead. And so as soon as Whitesnake grabs the disc, Jolene just pops in with a gotcha because what she used, like she used the frogs, right? Yeah, I think it was
Right.
like some
Yeah.
combination of like the frogs to where they would start bouncing off each other and the poison wouldn't seep onto her. And so they were
Right.
like at a decent enough space to where poison wouldn't just like fly off of them, which again, those threads are pretty OP. And so she uses her threads to take the disc from Whitesnake and gives it to a carrier pigeon from the Speedwagon Foundation. And this led to one of the unintentionally most hilarious scenes of Whitesnake grabbing a gun and pointing it at a bird.
I'm gonna pop that. I'm gonna pop that pigeon. With my
Dude,
pistol.
he had no chance at that point. It was over.
Mm-hmm. And so instead of dwelling on it, once again, Poochie, playing it smart, calls off the stand so Jolene doesn't identify it. And so JoJo's stand coming back to him, his body will potentially stop dying for a bit. Like, as we've seen, as Poochie claimed with the weather report, like, if he has his stand disc, he's not going to die. So we avoided a bullet with Jotaro dying, but, Poochie still has the memory disc. So he got the main thing that he wanted. So his plan really isn't foiled by much. And, that's at that point, that's the end of the first season. A end credit scene. Whitesnake meets with another villain and asks him to test his abilities on a bone from Dio's body, but we don't know what Sports Max's ability is.
Or Sports Maximum, as he's known in the English dub.
Sports Max.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, they had to change his name too because apparently, I think song or either artist. I honestly don't know.
I mean, I can't imagine wanting to have that level of copyright protection on a band.
It's a fashion brand.
Oh, it's a fashion brand. Okay. Oh, right. Yeah, duh, Anthony. Ugh, I forget. Yeah, it's a
God,
freaking.
Anthony, what a silly goose you are.
Listen, my information is only anime, Power Rangers, and Sentai. That's all. That's all I know. Like, I don't know anything
I
else.
I just looked it up. I just went to go look what his based on and why they had to change it. But we don't know what his abilities are. We don't know what the significance of a bone from Dio's body is. So, but it kind of leaves some things for intrigue. And that's the end of the season. So, overall thoughts on the first 12 episodes of Don't Ocean.
I guess if Anthony's not going first, I will.
Oh no, I'll just wait. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
hear
I can
you.
hear you.
Okay. I was just trying to think of what to say. I really enjoyed these episodes. Like I'm just not used to getting a buttload of episodes this fast. I was so used to just having JoJo Fridays be a thing again. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's not a thing, and now I'm just kind of like I didn't really binge watch all the episodes at once. I kind of watched like the first 5 or 6, and then I watched the other half like sometime later on. I didn't really watch it all together. I watched it like if it was 2 part, I definitely watch those two at the same time. But if it was like just a single episode, I'll just watch that and then wait some time to watch another.
Riz?
So I savored it. I watched the first 2 episodes 2 days after Netflix dropped it. Finished it before the first podcast, like an hour before. Didn't touch it again until 2 days ago when we started making plans to do the podcast again.
Mm-hmm.
And then I completed it yesterday, and here I am. But yeah, I definitely agree with Anthony that having it in binge form like this, it feels weird because it's not the end here. But also, I don't know if this constitutes a whole season or not because it just feels like there's more to this season than what we've already seen.
Right.
Right.
Um, so I wouldn't call it season. I would call it more like maybe Netflix release or something. I know at some point in the next 2 months they're gonna redo all this in Japan for broadcast, and at that point it'll
Well,
be serialized once a week, with like Crunchyroll or something.
the thing is, it's already been released in Netflix Japan.
Yeah,
So it's not a matter of like, oh, they don't have a chance. Like, no, they already have all the episodes as well.
yeah.
So I think most people are calling it a season because, well, we're already going to be getting a new episode. No. uh,
Carrying on.
Right.
just reading the chat. No,
Yeah,
we're more than likely going to be getting a new opening, and so whenever a show gets a new opening, that's when people usually consider that like a new season. And also just like kind of the release schedule, like it all came out at once. So a lot of people have been calling it season one or part one or the first third or whatnot.
yeah,
So that's why most people are calling it season one. I think it's just
Right.
an easier catch-all term because you're right. Like it feels like there is more things that are waiting for us. There's more things that haven't been answered, but it still felt like it ended in a way that a season finale would end.
yeah. It
The
definitely felt like a finale of like a season.
Yeah.
right, like we
Um,
got a resolution. We got like a very good climax for this. Like this would be like I'm like this is definitely a great way to kind of end like the first part of this, the
The
first
first
third,
arc.
the first kind
Yeah.
of big arc of it.
Yeah.
And so like that's why a lot of people are calling it seasons, but me personally like it was good. And if it can keep up this kind of pace throughout, this might like if it keeps going the way it is with like the interesting fights, the characters, you know, and the music, just like and even the fights, it's like, man, this might end up being my favorite part the way it keeps going.
I'm in the same boat right now, Miguel, because up until started 6, I thought part 3 would be my favorite part of all time, but this is rivaling it, man, and I'm just amazed that something is rivaling part 3 to me. Um, and I know a lot of people say that part 4 is their favorite, but part 3 for me hit different.
No, everyone has their own kind of favorites and whatnot. And it's like the one thing I like, because like I think everyone will universally put part one as kind of their least favorite. And that's not a knock on part one at all. It's
Oh.
just part one is 9 episodes, has like one standout fight, which is the last fight with Jonathan and Dio. It
Yeah,
has like probably one of the best finales, just because if you're new to the series, you don't see that finale coming at all.
absolutely not,
I
yeah.
sure did when I first watched it.
Like it took me by surprise. But it's just like the way the series like keeps growing with its uniqueness, with the way the fights are handled, the way the stories go. Like that's why part one is usually gets put at the bottom, because it's essentially it's not a Rocky's first story, but it's like the first one that he had a very consistent. It's one that just kept growing. It's like how the early parts of certain other mangas, like it starts off slow before the author really kind of finds their groove. And so that's why part one is like a lot of people put it towards the bottom, because it's the shortest, doesn't really have too many memorable fights, has a great finale, but every other part has more on it than part one. But then after you
Yeah.
get through part one, like being towards the bottom for a lot of people, everyone's favorites kind of get shifted around. There's not one universal. Um,
Yeah. No, I agree with that completely, 100%.
yeah. Sorry, I'm
But,
just looking. I'm just looking at our at our chat for uh
it's
for
all good.
this, and so I'm getting a bit distracted. But no, and so from there, like some people really enjoyed part three. I think part three and five have been the weakest parts for me since part one, just
Mhm.
I
because
like 5.
But again, that's not saying they're bad. It's just like for all the other parts, I just liked more.
Yeah.
Right.
You seem like a part 4 kinda guy, if I had to guess.
I love part four and I love part two.
I love
But
part 2 and I love part 3. Part
right,
5 and 4 are good,
right.
but
And like that's the one thing a lot of people also need to understand. Like, when I say, I think they're weaker compared to other parts, I'm not calling them bad. There's some
right.
bad moments in all the parts.
The
You know,
gorilla.
yeah. Well, I mean, part of the reason why part three kind of it's so low for me, it's like I feel like there's a lot of filler.
Mhm.
There's a lot of fights that could have been condensed into one episode. Not the
Agreed.
Darby, not the uh, not the Darby fight in poker.
Or the
That one
Jungle
needed
Bongo.
right, but like I think the fight with where Jotaro and Polnareff get turned into kids, I think you could have easily condensed that into one part. And even something with like the Mariah fight, which I absolutely love that with Abdul and Joseph against her. But even that one, I felt like you could have cut down into one part.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think David production kind of learned from that, where like the most hype fight in the series, which should have been Jotaro and Dio, which is still an amazing end fight, but the animation for that compared to the other finales, you know, not quite as good.
No, I can definitely see that. Yeah.
And so they kind of learned to where like they can condense things down, and that's why parts 4 and 5, and like I said, we don't know how many episodes part 6 is going to be, but it does feel like it's going down to that 36, 39 episode range.
That's most likely what's gonna happen.
So like I feel like they kind of learned from part 3, and I think that's where part 3 kind of falls short for me. It's just like a lot of it does feel like filler until they reach Egypt. Then it does start to pick up. There's still a little bit of filler in there, but like the rest of that, that's when it really picks up. Especially
Hmm.
once you get to Iggy and Pet Shop. Like everything after that, like that starts off high and it just keeps shooting up. Like
Yeah.
that's when you really start to feel the stakes come in. And
Yeah.
love part 4. Part 5, slow beginning, great middle, ending kind of whack.
Ending very whack.
Cool moments, but ending kind of whack.
Yeah. I remember trying to record that last
Yeah.
part, and I was just like, "Hold
Yeah,
on." Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, cool
Yeah.
moments in it, but it's like, dude suffered a fate worse than death. So yeah, no, but then there's other people who love part 5, who love that finale. Who think part 2 is the worst, or they think that part 4 is the worst because it's like not enough adventure in part 4, not enough traveling. They stick in one place. Whereas the
Yeah.
other parts, part
Yeah.
5 takes place in Italy, but they're traveling everywhere. So like that's the really unique thing about the series is that everyone has their favorites
Yeah.
for various reasons. And like I
Yeah.
said, the way part 6 is going, like this might just end up being my favorite part if it keeps
Yeah.
up this pace.
And I'm in the same boat as you right now.
What says you, Anthony?
Um, I'm enjoying it so far. And to reiterate your take on part 5, I think part 5 for me, honestly, I'm having mixed feelings on the ending. Everything leading up to before the ending is great, but it's just the ending was just kind of just like they could have done something different. But that's just me though.
Mm-hmm. Right. But no, it's
Yeah, but so far I'm enjoying it so far though.
mm-hmm.
For part 6, I mean.
No,
Yeah.
it's been a fun ride, and who hopefully we'll know here soonish, or at some point, when they do plan on kind of releasing the next batch of episodes, or if doing just the first 12 episodes is going to be a one-time thing. Because when you look up the information on JoJo's, it's not an anime series, it's an online anime series or a web series. So, whenever it does premiere next, it's going to be on Netflix or it is going to be on a streaming service, specifically for that streaming service. So, we don't really have to worry too much about like when, oh, it probably won't come out until it finishes running in television Japan. Mm-mm. It debuted number one among Japanese viewers on Netflix. So in Japan, when it debuted, number one. In the US, reached top six. Can you tell me the last time an anime debuted on Netflix that debuted in the top 10?
I honestly cannot tell
No.
you because I don't really be watching like anime on Netflix like that.
I don't even keep track of stuff like that to begin with.
Like, it'll show you on Netflix top 10 trending.
Yeah.
And,
Mm.
last anime related thing I saw that was trending in the top 10 was Cowboy Bebop, which, as of today, has been canceled.
You
And
mean
now,
like
Uh,
yep, got the
yeah, it's
plug
true.
pulled on it earlier today. No, that is
oh,
kind of gonna be that'll be a podcast for another time.
we're gonna have to talk about it. There's a lot to unpack in that one sentence you just said.
Yes, there
Yeah,
is. And
and I still have yet to watch the live action Cowboy Bebop, so I honestly cannot really be like, oh, it sucks because I didn't, or because I could have watched it, or blah, blah, blah. I just
oh, listen, we are having happy talks about JoJo right now.
We'll talk about not happy stuff later.
We'll do that
right.
later, but like I said, I don't know when's the next time we're gonna be able to kind of gather around like this to talk about Stone Ocean, and I'm really hoping it's sooner rather than later because
Yeah.
I really want to, and I want more, and I know I could get more if I read the manga, but anime only urges. I think I'm just gonna wait and not get myself more spoiled on this part.
Yeah.
But one thing, one last shout out before we wrap this podcast up because we've been going for quite a bit, but there's a lot to unpack here. For the people who have read the manga, one last shout out I want you guys, or one last thing I want to shout out is there was a person who uploaded an opening for Stone Ocean on YouTube back in 2008 using Cruel Angel's thesis from Evangelion. I would not recommend you check this out if you haven't read part 6 all the way through because there are going to be spoilers on there, but if you have,
Mm,
genuinely go check that out cuz this dude
yeah,
put
please
this
do.
out 13 years before the anime premiered, 3 years before part 1 even got an anime adaptation. So huge shout outs to that guy because I've seen that opening and oh man, it is killer, absolutely killer.
Did
But
he? Did he not do open for part five too? Years before part five even came out, or was it somebody else?
that might have been somebody else because this person, I know it was done in '08, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
recall a part 5 one. I just recall the part 6 one. But that video is still up
Yeah, 'cause-
there. Uh, like I said, if you've read part 6, definitely give it a go. The way the guy does it is pretty awesome. If you haven't, there are potential spoilers in there. So I would maybe read the manga if you want to check it out, or kind of just be confused by what's going on. But no, well, we wrap this up. Thank you all so much for listening, Anthony, Riz. Awesome
Yep.
talking with you guys about this show as always. This has been Miguel from Anime
likewise.
Secrets. Signing out. Have a good night, everyone.